I'm not here to make friends or family.
Mm-hmm.
One, I already have a family. And two, if I were looking to make friends, I would not come here. You're listening to Relationship Renegade, the show that brings hard truths and rough realities when it comes to relationships. Pod Squad, I'm your host, Dr. Jameson Mercier, licensed clinical social worker. And as with all weekend editions, my host, co-host, friend, Mia Terrazas is with us today. How are you, Mia?
What up, fam? I'm here and I'm so excited to talk about this topic.
This topic, let's just jump right in,
Let's do it.
is one dynamic that we a lot of people don't pay attention to. And yet there are those who just kind of thrive within this dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're talking about the idea of the work family, right? The co-worker family.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I'll admit I struggled with this topic a bit, trying to figure out, how's this different? What are we saying? And then I just had like
An epiphany
an
almost.
epiphany almost. And I was like, ooh, before I lose it, let's go.
You did.
Let's go. So we're talking about work family. And now in the time of COVID, for some people, this has been totally disrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Totally disrupted for a lot of reasons. And we'll get into some of that. And that disruption for some people ties into the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll talk about what that is, what it looks like, and possibly, and even some ways to cope with that. Okay. So let me start by asking you, Mia, what's your experience with the work family?
Oh, you know what? I really feel like that's a loaded question.
Oh, really, Mia?
I really do because you know what? Okay, it really does kind of echo those like regular family things. They can be really positive influences and really positive supports. And then if there's tension, it can be so awkward and so difficult and hard.
Mm,
Just like I guess any family member, if you're having any kind of issue with, and then but you're forced to see them every day. Um, and so it can be challenging. But they can also, the coworker relationships can be really awesome.
yep,
And,
yep.
and
I'll be the first to admit I've been fortunate to have some really great coworker relationships.
mhm.
Um, I mean, obviously, you included, Mia. Um,
Yay.
but yeah, as you say, I've also had the experience where it's like, damn, this is like, I don't know how long this gonna last.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you that don't know us, that's how we met. That's how we met. We were coworkers. And so as you can see, things can happen where both of us, I mean, I'm speaking for both of us, but we really just enjoy talking to each other. And the days that I knew Jameson was coming to the campus that I was at, I was really excited because I could talk to someone and they were supportive. They knew what was going on. He knew what was going on in my life. And um, we could have some really candid conversations
Mhm.
about some things. And so um, he was a really big support in a lot of ways in my personal life, but also my professional life. Um, and so I think, like you said, when you have really good coworkers or coworkers that you just vibe with, um, it can be amazing support.
Makes a big difference. And I mean, similar for me,
Mm-hmm.
when I would go visit you and your campus,
Mm-hmm.
it was a welcome change to my routine,
Mm-hmm.
and so in that sense, it worked out great. Now, let me add this though, right? So we were not in that coworker relationship where we saw each other every day.
Right. That's
Now,
true.
as we're saying that, I'm wondering, might things be a little different
Hmm.
if we worked together every day?
Our productivity would probably go below.
Yeah,
Our
that.
productivity would probably be the first to be
Mhm.
compromised, because there was just this need to talk.
This is true.
um, and so that would be a challenge.
Hmm.
But
I imagine
uh-huh.
for some of the people with some of the struggles, like we were saying earlier,
Hmm.
um, one, I don't know that you and I ever had any kind of fallouts, but if we
Hmm.
did have a fallout,
Hmm.
we had a week to kind of deal with it or get over it and just water under the bridge.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Um,
if you're in a setting where you see them 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever the case is, you go home, literally you go to bed, and then you're gonna see them again first thing in
mhm.
the morning.
Yep.
That may be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be really challenging. I'm laughing because I mean, definitely I've experienced some of these things before where it's just sheer tension.
Hmm.
Um, when things don't go, when you don't get along with a coworker, um, it makes your job, one, if you have a hard job, even harder.
Mm.
And there's a little, at least for me, I had a thing where I like everybody has to like me, everyone has to like me, which is for another episode. But when someone doesn't, and you have to, like you said, work with them, and it's imperative that you work with somebody that you have just tension with, it gave me a little anxiety.
I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, or every time you have to anticipate going into a meeting with someone, it can give you a little anxiety. um so it definitely can be a place of solace, and it can be a place of strife depending on your work relationships.
Now let me be totally open and honest about this whole
Hmm.
idea of the work family.
Hmm.
Um, it was never really a thing for me.
Hmm.
Okay, so whenever I was thinking of work, work was purely
Hmm.
work,
Hmm.
just work. I show up to do a damn job, I collect my check, and then I roll out. Don't ask me about my weekend. Don't ask me about my kids.
Right.
I'm not here to make friends or family.
Hmm.
One, I already have a family. And two, if I were looking to make friends, I would not come here. I mean, just that's just a fact, right? And here, because this is a job, it's a place of
Hmm.
employment. If I was looking for friends, I'd go
Hmm.
to the beach, I'd go to the basketball court, I'd go to Mexico, wherever.
Let me ask you this, because you're just making me think of something. Do you think it would be different if you were, if it wasn't a career job, or meaning like you're a 9 to 5 type situation, or like would it matter? Or if it was a job that you were just doing to just pay your bills? So for instance, like I worked as a waitress, and I would hang out with some of those people outside of my job. I'd enjoy a beer with them. My career job, um, not really sure that I would really want to enjoy a beer with them after
Mm.
work.
Um, no, I don't think it would make a difference
Okay.
because if I'm here just to pay my bills,
Uh-huh.
hanging out with you cuts into that,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? Now, I no longer feel as strongly, let me just say that, as strongly that way as I once did, but I I don't always buy into the whole family dynamic at work
Mm-hmm.
for what you said a moment ago. And I mean, you said this for another episode, and we'll see. It may
Okay.
sneak
You
its way.
might bring it
It
out.
may
Mm-hmm.
sneak its way in here because um, the idea of people liking me and being my friends, um, I I didn't necessarily need that at work.
Right.
I'm here literally because I got these bills staring at me, and I'm not independently wealthy, or it's a second job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I hang with I have other people for that.
True.
So, but things did change for me because I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was in one job where I was having a bit of a hard time. Like I was struggling to adjust to the job and the expectations of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a coworker who just was like, "Hey, listen, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is." And she really kind of broke it down for me and put it in a way that made sense for me. I was literally overthinking it. And she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, she's like, "Don't do that." And then with that was like, "Hey, come sit here with us," or "Hey, you know." And so just like you and I would have lunch together,
Mm-hmm.
we would also have lunch together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was new to me because in the line of work that we're in, a lot of it is
Yeah,
solitary work,
that's true. Mm-hmm.
and so I think I rejected it at first because I wasn't exposed to it.
Yeah. That's a good point. And here's the for me, um, that was all it really that's all I ever had was like a coworker family-esque vibe.
Really?
Yeah, uh-huh. Now that you're saying it, I started working when I was 16, and I have worked ever since. Even during school, I'd worked during the summertime, um, but I always had a like when I was younger, there were younger people that I was working with, and I worked in retail jobs. Um, and so a lot of the friends that I have now, I've picked up from work more than I
Mm.
have just outside at a bar or through friends of friends. They really all, now I'm thinking about it, have all like my good friends post like high school and stuff like that. Wasn't really through college, it was through my work. And there was always one at least that I had a very, very close relationship with. And we had the work was of course what started the conversation, or we could kind of both complain about it and be happy about it, whatever was going on, and then it just evolving from there. Um, so I feel like I've always in some sense have had a um, family like coworker relationship, and I think that played into why um, I was like, oh, they have to like me because I had so much of that. So to not have it was weird. But I do feel like in my more, if you will, career job. So given the nature of our job too, I mean, we're therapists or a social worker, so there's some things that we have to keep to ourselves, and I I feel like it just I lost my train of thought. I ran out of tape. I ran out of tape. Um, I don't
I,
remember what I was saying.
no, it's fine. As you're saying that, I am grateful for having co-workers and colleagues as
Mhm.
who are clinicians,
Yeah.
because if not for them, I just wouldn't say anything to anyone. Right,
Yeah,
because you're bound by confidentiality.
you are.
Um, Yet at the same time, I'm just thinking how, even then, if it's not about work or if it's not a client that I need to consult about,
Hmm.
we don't have to like get beyond that,
That's
you
true.
know? And I think
Hmm.
it may be like just where I am, whether career wise or financially or emotionally, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say in recent employment, I have people whom I've traveled with
Mm-hmm.
who are my new coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought that I would do any of that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like spending real time with people, getting to know people.
Mm-hmm. In some ways, I feel like that's been a boundary as well. Like for me, in terms of when I went from like doing my retail job when I was younger to my social work therapist job, like that was a boundary for me. Like I didn't want to bring anything related to work into my personal life. Um, for a variety of reasons. I mean, I until recently in my current situation, my first couple years, like I was invited to do like happy hours and things like that. And I was like, nope, I'm definitely not doing that. I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. I need the people that I'm working with to just think of me solely as in this role.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now that I've been where I'm at for 4 years, there's been a lot of life that happens from, year one to year four. And I'm constantly with and working very closely with some of these coworkers. And so I think organically, um, the the wall just started to come down a little bit, and I was a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more personable.
Hi, we are the Mercier kids. Like what you hear so far?
Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe now.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
That's a good word for it, vulnerable.
And in some ways, it has truly enhanced my I guess in some ways, like your quality of life, if I could be so bold, because when you have a really good coworker situation, it makes like our job is really difficult sometimes and hard and challenging. And so when you have the balance of one, you can either talk about it or not talk about it, but with other people, but to then have that extra support um is just invaluable in some ways. And even if you let people with anything, if you let people in um, a little bit, it can open a lot of doors for you.
So, okay. Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like when we're talking about like the work family situation,
Uh-huh.
it's more like person to person. But if we were to talk about work family as in like the job or the business itself,
Mm-hmm.
like a sense of familial connection or obligation to that job or business, is that any different? Let me add this. Let me add this. So if we're talking about like a smaller shop or store or
Mm-hmm.
operation, and
Mm-hmm.
like maybe the owner or
Okay.
management, and you're talking family, does that extend to management, I guess, is the first question, or is it just like the coworkers?
Oh, I see what you're saying. It has I think it starts kind of from the top down because I did work at a shop. I worked at a surf shop when I was younger. And like I'm saying, like I really had these experiences where my job, now that we're talking about it and I'm thinking critically kind of about it, they were all very family oriented,
Wow.
which I guess can be very uh that doesn't happen all the time. So
That's
there was only
rare.
yeah. And so even in my first job out of college, it was a very small agency. And we all went to each other's houses, management, us, workers. So if I got my cue from my management team that was a way that they operated, and I felt comfortable with it, then I did that. I still send Christmas cards to those shop owners that I worked with when I was 20.
My.
Yeah, every year I think about them. And send them a Christmas card. So I've kind of always had that, I guess. And so
Okay.
this experience though has been a little different because it's huge. The system I work in is big.
Right. And
Um,
so, and like most huge systems, there are, policies and
mhm, mhm,
limitations as to what you can and can't do.
right.
What are they? Chain of command type situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So in some ways that makes it difficult.
It does. Yeah, I would imagine so. Um, it, and I think too, to some degree, like when I was asking about it before, like, if you're in a job where you're paying your bills or if it's like a career job, like, I guess what I was thinking was, the jobs that I considered, and it could be, either or kind of a job, but the job that I considered to be part of my career, I felt like demanded a degree of professionalism, and responsibility and things like that I wanted to present myself a certain way as a professional, because the people that I was working with now are going to be setting the tone, kind of like when you're moving forward.
Okay.
So I didn't want to fraternize with other professionals because I was like, I only need you to know how I work, because
Gotcha.
that's what's going to eventually move me wherever I want to go.
You know,
So,
you know what's interesting? One, when you asked about that question, like,
mhm,
does it matter as far as it's a career job or job to pay your bills?
mhm,
I mean, in my mind, it's all the same because
mhm.
I wouldn't have a job if I didn't have any bills, to tell you the truth. And so that's one viewpoint.
Mhm,
And then what I've learned in recent years, for some people,
mhm,
as far as advancing in careers, it has, well, I guess depending on the circumstance, but it could have less to do with your qualifications on paper
mhm.
and more of your networking and interpersonal
Yeah,
skills.
yeah, kind of who you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
that is a thing. Yeah, who you know and how you worked,
yeah. Or can someone even say, "Oh yeah, I know him,"
right?
and
Mhm.
that could simply be, "Oh yeah, we've had coffee."
Mhm. Yeah. And the other reason why I brought that up too was because, when we're working on a resume, it has to be like relevant to what, you put your experience to what's relevant to the job. So I wouldn't necessarily put on my resume uh the waitressing job I had.
You wouldn't put surf shop compliance manager.
I would not put anything related to retail, unless I was straight out of college, but that doesn't apply. They want to know what skills you have for the job you're going to be doing,
Mhm, mhm.
and the relevance. So that's what I was talking about, like career job. Like it could be in a restaurant business, and you want to make sure you have all of that. For me, that didn't apply. So I had, when I was thinking about career job versus just a job for me, like an extra income,
Mhm.
I was putting a lot more energy into the job that I was shaping my career.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Now, you
Mhm.
know what has also happened with me,
Mhm.
separate from like a work family,
Mhm.
I've developed different systems or support systems. They've been colleagues, but not just all from the same group or just these people that I work with and I also hang with. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it's like I have a support system, almost a bit of a family, I guess, if you want a professional family, if you want to call it that,
Mm-hmm.
but without any of the family dynamics, you
Mm.
know? And I guess that's one piece, if we can talk about in, the moments we have left, the dynamics that exist in a traditional family,
Mm-hmm.
that's bad enough, or
Yeah.
it's bad enough to manage, right? Not that it's all bad. Some people have great families with no drama,
Mm-hmm.
but most people have some dynamics within their family that they would like to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as a systems thinker, natural systems, family dynamic, generational stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I observe that in traditional families and nuclear families. But then to then have that same drama in like a work family situation
Mm-hmm.
where one person is like the scapegoating, and then there's this other person who's
Mm.
the controlling one, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
this person who's got this, they want to be the mother and blah blah blah. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, what the hell is going on?
Yes. Yeah.
So I see that and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm just like, I don't need to have you trying to be my mama at work,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you trying to be my wife at work, or my sister or my dad, or in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
because I come here to escape that to some extent, you know?
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, that is true. But you know what though? In some ways I feel like it's unavoidable. Unless you're just completely like just checked out. Like you only go to like you don't have any side conversations with anyone after, you know, unless it's purely just sign this, do this, and then you're out. I feel like in some ways it just happens that you find yourself in a in a dynamic of sorts with your coworkers.
Well, yeah. So those dynamics are all around us,
Yeah.
So the idea is, how do we choose to engage or not engage or participate
Mm,
in those dynamics?
mm,
Right. So, for example, you'll have someone when you show up at a job who tends to be the one who wants to be in charge.
yeah.
And you can either say to yourself, well, no, I want to be the one in charge. Or you can just say, hey, they got this dynamic here.
Mm-hmm.
And my choice is to participate this way,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to being swept up by the current.
Mm-hmm.
Although to some extent you're going to be in a role, do you stay? I mean, and this is what I'm saying. Now we get into this whole crazy, like how you roll and operate or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it exists, but it's
Yeah. I mean, then you kind of go into like this delicate dance of like a little here, a little there, not there.
right.
Yeah.
And
That
then
do
you're
I
like, oh, did I offend them when I said this?
Oh yeah, you just is there an ego involved here? Is it control freak here? Is it this person makes me check in a trillion times. This person doesn't care. Then there's like an allyship that happens. It just
Totally.
without you even meaning to. It's just like, okay, you're with them or I'm with definitely it can get crazy.
Yeah. And then we lose sight of why we're here. Now,
Hmm.
we're here to do the job. Some people are there for a paycheck.
Hmm.
Then it's just like, really, people?
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
But
I
then
know.
you have, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know some people, they have tried to avoid that because they just have, that's just one more relationship dynamic, or not even one more, maybe 10, 12 more
Hmm.
relationship dynamics to manage. And I know for me, in many ways, I have enough relationships to manage.
Yes, including those of clients. trying to help them manage it. Yeah.
Right, right. I don't want to be caught up in this web of just managing
Mhm.
people's relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was not expecting the conversation to go this way. I wasn't at all. But,
Wow.
but it's such a true situation. You have these like incredibly crazy and complex like family dynamics, group dynamics that happen within the context of your coworkers.
Yeah, no, for sure. And they mirror, the
Mm.
dynamics in our immediate families.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess the one of the takeaways is if you're able to manage it in your family,
Mhm.
then you're able to manage it at work as well.
Mhm.
But just some people just would rather not.
Yeah. And sometimes when you do, you get really great gems like the one that I have with you here.
Aw,
I know, collective awe.
look at you being all sweet and all.
Gotta end it on a sweet note.
Yeah, yeah. And on that note, listen, if our listeners, if you guys have had a wonderful work relationship, work family, you might have a work wife or work husband,
Mm-hmm.
and it's helped you, let us know. If you just show up, do your job, and go home, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
That is all right. They all have their merits, they all have their ups and their downs. So if you found value in this, please let us know. Share your thoughts when you leave a review. Send it to a friend. They'd like to perhaps learn something about their work dynamics, I'm sure.
Or you could send it to your coworker.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Oh, shoot.
Uh-huh. Yeah, after you do that, let us know how that turns out. Like,
Yeah, please do.
What that conversation is like. So thank you guys again for joining us for our weekend edition. As always, is this
It is.
oh yeah, so listen, we're gonna be on a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
This is true. We will be popping in periodically. You will still be able to get some of our episodes, but the season 3 is coming.
Yay. Thank you all, Squad Pod, for embracing Relationship Renegade.
Mia, it's not Squad Pod.
Dang it. I said it wrong.
It's Pod Squad.
All right. I'm going to leave that to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you all for embracing me on Saturday.
Yes. Listen, guys, thank you guys for joining us for this episode. Stay tuned. We'll be dropping some tidbits about season 3. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the sharing and helping this thing grow to where it is today. And look forward to seeing you and having you for season 3. Next episode, season 3 of Relationship Renegade. Thank you all and enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your break. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy whatever it is you're about to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye now.